2 pages. Might be there, bud.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just probably not going to talk. So
You're good.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to read this out. Is Daryl there?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. There was a time when Gridania was lawless and unregulated. That time, it should be noted, held a greater pervasive peace and was far less chaotic than contemporary times. The onset of laws on this grand continent did not bring Gridania into its current brutal discord, but was rather a byproduct of what had. 423 years ago, an event that came to be known as the Synthesis occurred. Settlements at the time were sporadic and rarely larger than a few family groups. Gridania's population was scattered and minimal. Because of this, first-hand accounts of the Synthesis were in short supply and had a tendency to give its witnesses a venerable, almost occult status. One such witness was named Arin. Arin would recount his experience numerous times before his end, gaining a following that believed he may have been at least indirectly responsible for the Synthesis. Arin reveled in describing how he watched small, imperceptibly small pieces of the clearing he sat in begin to glow. Those glowing, sprite-like pieces would then float slowly from their separate sources throughout the clearing, moving towards each other until finally, in a quick flash of light, coalesced into a polished, pearlescent, palm-sized stone. Arin would come to find that this stone had peculiar powers. Holding this stone would allow him to change the properties of anything he touched, simply by thinking about his desired transmutation. Over time, this curio would come to be known as the Alchemist's Stone. The Synthesis was not an isolated incident. Countless other items with peculiar properties would come to be known throughout Gridania, with many more surely still resting where they came to exist. Over time, these would come to be known as relics. Arin would leverage the use of the Alchemist's Stone, coupled with a reverence for his involvement in the Synthesis, into collecting a myriad of other relics that appeared during the Synthesis. He became enthralled with the various trinkets and their abilities, spending his efforts and resources to gather as many as possible into his possession. While new relics would be uncovered from time to time, Arin managed to effectively collect all known specimens, keeping them stashed away in his Alchemist's Stone constructed castle, comprised of enormous spires of stone jutting from the earth, as if piercing the sky with their violent form. Fuck, why did he have to join? Goddamn. Arin's reputation gradually shifted from venerable to villain as his covetousness grew. The entirety of Gridania would come to know his name, avarice, and collection of relics. His castle reflected his manner, becoming black and ashy. The surrounding populace began to refer to it as the Black Spires. Unrest began to develop. Many believed Arin should be using the relics for the prosperity and betterment of all Gridania. They believed this was intended to be the true nature of the Synthesis, a gift from Gridania itself to its inhabitants. Denizens of the continent would begin to amalgamate from all corners and begin to settle in areas surrounding Arin's castle, as if hoping to gain prosperity through his proximity. Many would claim they could feel the mysticism of the relics, as if power emanated from them, dispersing slowly throughout the surrounding lands. Arin's castle became increasingly fortified, and he brought more and more guards into his employ. Between his influence, imposing castle, devout guards, and the various powers granted by his wealth of relics, most felt he was untouchable. One small fledgling society did not feel this way. The Blades, anonymous to this day, were comprised of 3 individuals. Rumors of their identities or personas were many, but little is truly known about them. It was known that they felt, as most did, that Arin's concentration of relics was against the true nature of the Synthesis, that relics should be distributed among the people and allowed to bring the prosperity for which they were intended. Unlike most, however, they did not feel Arin was untouchable. How they gained entry to his castle, evaded alarm, and assassinated Arin is still a mystery. Many believe they utilized some of the nascent powers that had begun to seep from the castle. Others claim they impersonated guards. Some believe they used a secret relic that allowed them to become incorporeal. Upon killing Arin, the 3 blades spirited away with his body, leaving only a simple calling card of 3 vertical slashes in the cobblestone wall of his chamber. Word of Arn's demise at the hand of the Three Blades began to percolate through the surrounding population, now an exponentially larger settlement than had ever been known. The people would come to distribute the relics by merit or necessity, debated and decided by democratic process. Use of the relics became somewhat commonplace, and the new settlement thrived. Words spread throughout Gridania, and those who had not yet made their way toward Arn's castle were compelled to make the journey. And so Three Blade City came to be. 423 years later, democratic process is still regarded with a quasi-reverence. The 7 senators of Three Blade City, in many eyes, represent the 3 nameless blades that were the progenitors of this grand metropolis. The city had grown almost as far vertically as across the landscape, as the citizens of Three Blade City generally desire to be as close to Arn's original castle, the Black Spires, as possible. The Black Spires are regulated, kept safe and private by the senators. Only the senators are able to enter. Most people believe it still emanates power, or the very essence of Gridania and the synthesis, as evidenced by the increasingly common forms of magic starting to be exhibited by various individuals. Three Blade City had therefore been built equally skyward, held aloft by vast, web-like networks of metal beams and girders, silhouetted by frequent, colossal precipices overlooking sections of the city below. Races and sub-races that had previously been undiscovered by humans would begin to also inhabit Three Blade City. Drawn to the emerging capital for the same reasons, they trepidatiously introduced themselves into the population. This immersion of species is generally accepted by most humans, as they were seen as equal recipients of Gridania's gift to its occupants. While cultural clashes had occurred, there tends to be only isolated racial strife. Relics are not uncommon, but the now immense population makes most citizens unlikely to ever handle one. Citizens who make residence on lower tiers are more affluent and are more likely possessors of Gridania's relics. New relics appear from time to time, sought out across Gridania by a large sect of relic hunters. Relics are heavily regulated, each being registered to their owners, with strict procedure for relinquishing them. Some relics hold a certain amount of fame for their properties, or how they have been used by their possessors. Black market relics exist, and rumors of secret, powerful relics are an enthralling topic for most citizens. While life in Three Blade City can be harsh and chaotic, much of the populace is kind, with a pervasive sense of brotherhood. Many exceptions, of course, exist. Settlements outside of Three Blade City are sparse and small, many simply being outposts for relic hunters and their grand airships. Many of the persons found throughout other areas of Gridania are generally regarded as odd, and rightly so. The next chapter in Gridania's story would begin with 6 individuals, a fated capacity to reroute history, and a serendipitous crossing of paths on the first launching of an innocuous, unremarkable airship. And scene.